Okay, so as I promised, I am making a third report here on the test results of using the silver pulsar. And so the results, I would say, are somewhat mixed. I really don't notice too much improvement from the last 30-day test. However, it does show a significant improvement in the original test. Also, I was having trouble getting some blood out of the center of my foot, and so I used this sample on the very tip of my toe, which I also noticed there are different places in the body where the mold that was growing on my cells was more or less. But let me just go through a few of the things that I said that I would cover. So let's take a look at the side-by-side comparison, and you can see for yourself what you think. Okay, so here is the blood test after 60 days of using the silver pulsar from SOTA.com. And it really, in some respects, looks better, but in some respects hasn't changed. One thing for sure has changed is the 0 to 30 days has changed, and there does appear to be a lot more cells that are not laden with fungus. However, there are still quite a few, and this particular shot shows a lot of clean stacked cells, which at first I thought there was going to be a more dramatic change than what I was anticipating. However, further on you'll see, especially in the enlarged footage of a more powerful magnification on the microscope, you'll notice that there are still plenty of areas where there are a lot more fungus-laden cells, and you'll also notice that there's an issue with the way the focus that I did on the initial test shows the fungus nodules a lot larger, and what I try to do is show some footage in comparison using the previous method of focusing, which doesn't show so much of these nice smooth cells as you see here, which I think this focus that you're looking at now is what the focus should be for reading this, because this gives you the clearest picture and also shows you the lines more defined. However, when you focus it in the way that I did it before, the nodules come out more. You can see the rise of the fungus nodules, the lumps, much more clearly. So I'll try to elaborate on that, as you'll see later on in the footage. I try to show some footage where I have focused it to see, like what you're seeing right now is I'm adjusting the focus a little bit, but you'll see that the fungus nodules do come out a lot more. Like you'll see a couple of them right where the SOTA was. But okay, now here is the increased magnification, and I did have to brighten it up a little bit because the larger magnification in the microscope gets rather dark. But still, as you can see though, there is a lot more cells that are not completely laden. Like you see the one that's above the SOTA, that really doesn't have too many fungus nodules on it, even when you adjust the focus to show the rise of the fungus nodules. You see, there was no shot that looked like that in the original footage that I shot in the pre-silver pulsar test. There was no cells that, almost none. There was like one or two very rare cells. So see here, you see now in some of the shots, a cell that's covered with fungus is actually the rarity. But also, as you progress into other areas of the blood in the test, you'll see that there's a lot more. Like, see, now we're getting into some cells that are in areas where it looks like there's a lot more fungus on the cell. See, here is just a completely packed area of fungus-laden cells. And there's also like a strange formation right here. I don't know what that was. I think maybe it's just like a drop of water or something, or some sort of anomaly in the slip over the slide. But it was kind of interesting, so I shot it. It kind of looks like a flower shape, but it's probably just because of a anomaly or a bump of water or something on the slip. And then here you see this is this area here is like almost very what the cells look like originally. So this is more like what my blood looked like originally, and that's why I say there's not so much of a contrast between what was before and what is now. Okay, so here we have a before use, 3 weeks usage, and 60 days of usage. And as you can see, the more dramatic result is from the before use to 3 weeks usage. And then, although the results are subject to the error of more cells in different places having more fungus on them, and various conditions of also the filming, which may affect the outcome. For instance, as I mentioned, the fungus nodules came more into focus in the first method that I used for focusing on the cells, which, as you can see, also kind of gives you a more blurred picture. And I did try to compensate on the focusing for the last and latest shots, but this could affect the accuracy overall of the test. There does appear to be some improvement from the 3 weeks to the 60 days, I will say, and it does leave me with the impression that over time, if you cleaned your blood like this on a regular basis, I mean, I plan on continuing this for another year at least, if not forever, because it's just a jolly good idea. I mean, why not? And when your blood cells have less burden on them, especially if you have mold like this or you have something else in your blood that's slowing you down, but especially in my case, you can see this mold here would probably hamper the body's ability. So with that mold removed, imagine how much easier it is for the cells to carry blood and I mean to carry the nutrients and the oxygen that your body needs without having the burden of those nodules. I mean, who knows what burden those nodules put on the cells. So there is some difference, as you can see. The test is subject to error, but you can definitely see a difference. Okay, so as far as the health effects goes of using the silver pulsar from SOTA, I really haven't noticed a whole lot. Now, as far as what my symptoms were, like I said, it's mostly fatigue, maybe memory loss, I'm not sure, but that's the main thing I was hoping for, is for some improved energy, which I really haven't noticed. But also, because this has taken a long time to probably inset, it probably would take a long time for it to heal. So I'm not sure if, how long it would take to start noticing some results. But the bottom line to it has already been established that it does work. I mean, there was a serious reduction in the amount of mold that was on my cells. If the rest of what Bob Beck says is true, then it really is a exciting, suppressed medical discovery concerning cancer, AIDS, and other parasitic diseases such as Lyme's, Candidas, and so forth. Let's see. And so the other thing I wanted to mention, though, is that really one of the best places to get the information is from this site down below here. I'll post it right below this video. And also I'll post any interesting updates. Basically, the bottom line to it is that after 60 days, I didn't notice that much of an increase in the amount of cells that were fungus-free as opposed to the 30-day period. The biggest jump that I noticed was from the 0 period to the 30-day period. Oh yeah, I wanted to just discuss as far as usage goes, how easy is it to use. I do have a few minor complaints. I think overall it's it's a few things that it's well worth putting up with, but let me just talk about a few of them. Number one is that this setup, the way it's on your wrist and then it's on your arm here, is it's a little bit awkward. I think that they should, for the size of it, they should just use one thing that goes over the wrist, because this thing's a little awkward. When you go to tighten this Velcro strap, it has a tendency to pinch, and then you don't tighten it tight enough and it starts to slide down a little. And so I think for $250 plus the shipping, I think that should be better designed, but it's not that big of a complaint. I mean, as far as overall usage, it's not that big of a deal. But I would say the biggest problem is that the it leaves my wrists itchy, and so after a while of using it, I started having some a small rash. And I used some tea tree oil and eucalyptus oil and a few things on it, and that seems to help, but you get a little bit of an itch, so there is some irritation that occurs. And they mention that in the pamphlet. They tell you that you do get some irritation, so that's to be expected, but really not that big of a deal. It's not that big of a deal to put it on and wear it for 2 hours, and for what you're getting, I think it's going to be well worth it, but it really is worth it to do a longer test. And some of the witnesses on the videos at the Bob Beck YouTube site really does much more than I can do here in just the 60 days that I've been using it, because some of these, perhaps for some diseases and some things, you could really notice dramatic changes right away. With this, you can notice, I did notice it, like I said, from the 0 to the 30 day, but not so much from the 30 day to the 60 day, although it does look to me as though there has been some improvement. I mean, that was the first impression that I got, is that there's a lot more cells now without those fungus nodules, but there's still plenty that are laden with fungus. Okay, so that's pretty much it, and I'll post another video when there is some interesting information, which may be a while, maybe as long as 6 months or whatever, but when I have something interesting to report in a comparison video that looks like it's going to be a really interesting contrast and or some updated news, I will post it. Thanks for watching.